Imagine a woman standing at the edge of a vast ocean, the sun rising behind her, waves gently lapping at her feet. She gazes out, not with uncertainty, but with a calm curiosity, aware that the vastness before her is both beautiful and unpredictable. This image, timeless and universal, captures the essence of a wise woman, someone who meets the world, its joys, and its storms with grace, courage, and clarity of mind. Today, we explore 6 unmistakable signals that reveal the depth of her wisdom. If you recognize these qualities in yourself, you possess a strength that far surpasses mere intelligence. You are truly wise. 1. She cultivates emotional resilience. A wise woman knows that true strength does not mean burying one's emotions beneath a veneer of steel. It means meeting those emotions head-on, feeling their weight, and then choosing to rise beyond them. She understands that emotions are gifts, vital signals from the deepest parts of our psyche, alerting us when something matters, when a boundary has been crossed, or when a dream is calling us forward. Yet she also recognizes that unchecked emotions can become wild beasts, dragging us into destructive patterns of reactivity or despair. Her path is one of balance. She honors her feelings without surrendering her sovereignty. When grief washes over her like an unexpected tide, whether from loss of a loved one, the end of a cherished relationship, or the quiet fading of a long-held dream, she does not fear its undertow. Instead, she stands at the shoreline of her own heart and breathes deeply into the ache. She allows tears to fall unashamed, knowing that in their salt lies the purification of pain. She whispers to herself, "This sorrow is real. It is part of my story." And in that acknowledgement, the loud crashes of anguish begin to soften into ripples, reminding her that sorrow, too, is a phase bridge toward deeper joy and compassion. In moments of anger, when injustice shouts its fury or betrayal cuts to the quick, she does not react in a diversion of lashings out or silent seething. She feels the heat rising, recognizes the rapid beat of her pulse, and decides to hold the moment in her chest until clarity emerges. Rather than allowing rage to write her next words or deeds, she chooses a pause, a deep, deliberate inhale, a count to 10, a deliberate step back. In this space, she asks herself, what truth am I defending? What boundary needs to be restored? When she finally speaks, her words are tempered by reason and purpose, no longer driven by the blind force of indignation, but guided by the clear light of justice. Even joy and excitement, so often seen as purely celebratory, are received with mindfulness. She notices if her elation is fleeting, tied to external circumstances that may shift tomorrow. She reminds herself that while joy is to be cherished, her peace should not depend solely on its presence. By savoring it consciously, she binds her spirit to the moment without building her entire sense of worth upon its passing. Behind her resilience lies a simple but profound practice. She cultivates the habit of naming. When an emotion surfaces, she treats it like a visitor. Hello, fear, I see you. Envy, welcome. Hope, by placing a name to what she feels. She separates her core self from the raw energy of the feeling, gaining the perspective needed to choose her response. This act of labeling is not avoidance, it is a means of mapping the terrain of her inner world, so she never wanders into its darkest corners unawares. But naming alone is not enough. A wise woman moves beyond mere identification to investigation. She sits with her emotions as she would with a curious child, asking respectful, compassionate questions. What triggered you? Where in my body do you manifest? What do you want me to understand? In doing so, she unearths the roots of her patterns, perhaps a childhood wound, an unmet need, or a distorted belief that she can then address with intention and grace. Compassion toward herself is the soil in which her resilience grows. She forgives herself for mistakes, recognizing them as the raw material of growth rather than the stain of shame. If she lashes out in a moment of weakness or yields to regret, she does not collapse into self-flagellation. Instead, she embraces herself as she would a dear friend in pain, offering the same kindness and encouragement. You were hurt, she acknowledges. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. In these gentle words, she builds the self-trust essential for facing life's next trial. She also knows that resilience is strengthened in community, not isolation. When the weight of emotion becomes too great to bear alone. She reaches out to a mentor who has weathered similar storms, to a friend whose listening ear offers solace, to a therapist who guides her through the intricacies of her heart. In vulnerability, she finds solidarity, and in shared stories, she discovers that no one is immune to pain, and no one should face it in silence. Daily rituals anchor her to a steady center. Before the world's demands sweep her away, she commits to moments of stillness, a few minutes of focused breathing, a short journal entry tracking her emotional weather, a grounding walk in nature where the rhythm of her steps matches the rhythm of her heart. These simple practices serve as emotional check-ins, alerting her to turbulence long before it capsizes her composure. Yet perhaps the most potent signal of her resilience is the unspoken mantra she carries in her bones: I am stronger than any feeling that threatens to overwhelm me. This is not arrogance. It is the humble truth born of experience. She has stared down despair and found resilience. She has faced rage and emerged compassionate. She has walked through the valley of anxiety and discovered an inner plateau of calm. Each triumph writes itself in her marrow, fueling the next. And so, when new storms gather on her horizon, she stands firm not because she doubts the power of hardship, but because she trusts her capacity to weather it. This is how a wise woman cultivates emotional resilience: by feeling deeply, naming honestly, investigating compassionately, connecting authentically, and anchoring steadfastly. In doing so, she transforms every emotional upheaval into a crucible for growth, forging a spirit that is flexible yet unbreakable, tender yet resolute. Through her example, we learn that true wisdom is not the absence of feeling, but the art of feeling fully and then choosing again and again to stand tall. She practices radical self-awareness. At the heart of every wise woman's journey lies the unflinching commitment to know herself. Every hidden corner of her mind, every flicker of her heart, every longing that stirs beneath the surface. She does not settle for a superficial self-image built on social media highlights or the applause of others. Instead, she embarks each day on a courageous inward expedition, determined to uncover the beliefs, habits, and shadows that shape her world. This is radical self-awareness, the relentless pursuit of truth about who she is, why she thinks what she thinks, and what she most truly wants from life. Before the dawn breaks, she steals a few moments of silence, cradling a warm cup of tea or coffee in her hands. She opens her journal and writes freely, no censoring, no striving for eloquence. She records the dreams that linger from the night, the worries that weigh on her chest, and the small victories that bring a spark of pride. By giving voice to her internal dialogue, she transforms the whisper of her mind into the concrete ink on paper. There, she can observe it, question it, and learn from it. Each entry becomes a map of her inner landscape, revealing patterns of thought she might otherwise ignore. Throughout the day, she peppers her routine with intentional pauses. At the sound of her lunch alarm, she closes her eyes for 30 seconds, asking herself, what am I feeling right now? Is my mind racing toward tomorrow's to-dos, or am I fully present? When a conversation leaves her unsettled, she notes the exact moment her chest tightened or her voice hurried. She traces those reactions back to their source, the echo of a childhood critique, the fear of rejection, the desire to appear perfect. By catching these automatic responses in mid-flight, she reclaims the choice to act with clarity rather than compulsion. In the mirror, she practices a more daring ritual. She looks into her own eyes, greeting herself with compassion and curiosity. Who are you beneath the mask you show the world? What stories have you been telling yourself? And do they still serve you? Sometimes the answers arrive as a whisper memory of doubt, a neglected ambition, and unspoken pain. Other times, the mirror reflects a familiar armor of defensiveness or a rehearsed smile meant to keep others at bay, no matter how unsettling the insight. She welcomes it. She knows that those unexamined layers, though once protective, now stand between her and the fullest expression of her strength. She also seeks feedback as a powerful tool of self-discovery. In her closest relationships, trusted friends, mentors, or a therapist, she invites honest reflection. She might ask, when I'm anxious, how do I come across? When I'm afraid, do I withdraw or lash out? She listens without interruption, resisting the urge to justify or minimize. In these candid exchanges, she learns how her inner world manifests outwardly, often in ways she never intended. Each revelation is a gift, a chance to close the gap between her intentions and her impact. Every belief she holds becomes a sacred suspect. She challenges the stories she's carried since childhood, the one that says she must always be useful to be worthy, the one that whispers she is not enough unless she achieves beyond measure. She takes each belief on trial. What evidence truly supports it? Has it served her growth, or has it shackled her to fear? This relentless questioning is not an exercise in doubt, but an invitation to clarity. When she unearths a limiting belief, she writes a new declaration, bold, affirmative, and rooted in her own experience. Over time, these affirmations replace the old narratives, reshaping her reality from the inside out. Her radical self-awareness extends to her body as well as her mind. She notices where she holds tension in her shoulders, her jaw, her stomach, and traces those knots back to unspoken anxieties or suppressed anger. Through mindful movement, yoga stretches, a long walk, a moment of deep breathing, she releases the stored energy, reminding herself that body and mind are inseparable allies on her path. This somatic awareness ensures that she neither lives in her head alone nor ignores the wisdom her body offers. Perhaps her most profound insight is this: self-awareness is not a destination, but a lifelong practice. Some days, she gazes inward and finds only calm lucidity. On others, she encounters resistance so fierce she almost turns away. In those moments, she leans into the discomfort, knowing that growth lies just beyond the edge of ease. She affirms, "I may stumble and I may falter, but I will keep returning to this inner work." With every cycle of reflection, she refines her compass, becoming more attuned to the subtle signals that guide her toward authenticity. In cultivating radical self-awareness, she gains a power that no external accolade can confer: the power of conscious choice. When faced with distraction, she chooses to focus. When temptation calls, she chooses integrity. When fear threatens her resolve, she chooses courage. Each decision, rooted in self-knowledge, aligns her actions with her deepest values. And as she moves through the world with this unwavering clarity, she radiates a quiet magnetism, drawing others to her not because she wears a crown, but because she carries a lantern of truth. In that light, she and everyone she touches can see with remarkable clarity the promise of what's possible. 3. She lives with intentional purpose. A wise woman refuses to drift through life like a leaf carried on the wind. She knows that true freedom emerges not from surrendering to circumstance, but from consciously choosing the course of her journey. Living with intentional purpose means waking each morning with a clear sense of direction, a defined set of values, and a steadfast commitment to the goals that nourish her soul. In this way, she transforms her days into a series of deliberate steps toward a life of meaning, fulfillment, and unwavering confidence. Before the bustle of email alerts and social media updates can distract her, she reaches for her journal or meditation cushion and connects with her highest aspiration. She asks herself, "What matters most to me today? How can I honor my deepest principles in each action I take?" Sometimes the answers are simple: offering kindness to everyone she meets, dedicating focused time to her creative work, or carving out an evening for genuine rest. Other times, they demand more courage, setting a boundary with a friend or declining an enticing opportunity that would lead her off course. In every moment, she reminds herself that every yes to her purpose is a no to what ultimately does not serve her. This intentional living springs from a profound clarity about her core values. She has distilled the qualities she holds most dear: integrity, curiosity, compassion, excellence, or authenticity, and keeps them ever before her like a compass guiding her thoughts, words, and deeds. When a tough decision arises, should she accept a new job, speak up in a difficult meeting, or invest her time in yet another side project, she measures each option against her values. If the choice aligns, she proceeds with enthusiasm. If it conflicts, she stands firm in her conviction to decline, trusting that saying no is often the most powerful way to protect her true north. Her calendar itself becomes a manifestation of purpose. She allocates her hours not by default, but by design. Deep work sessions times when she tackles her most meaningful tasks. Without interruption are sacrosanct. She schedules breaks to recharge, a walk beneath the trees, a few pages of a favorite book, or a quiet moment of breath awareness. She allows herself to enjoy celebration rituals when milestones are reached, an impromptu dance when a project is complete, a gratitude note to a mentor who inspired her. By filling her days with deliberate activities, she crafts a rhythm that sustains her energy, honors her passions, and propels her forward. Yet intentional purpose does not mean rigidity or perfectionism. A wise woman remains adaptable, recognizing that life's currents can shift unexpectedly. When new information emerges or her values evolve, she revisits her intentions with humility. She asks, "Is this pursuit still serving the person I am becoming?" If the answer is no, she adjusts her course. This flexibility is not weakness, it is the hallmark of a spirit that refuses to cling to outdated plans when a richer, more authentic path awaits. Living with purpose also extends to the relationships she cultivates. She surrounds herself with people who uplift, challenge, and inspire her, those whose own intentional lives reflect integrity and growth. She invests time in nurturing these connections, honest conversations about hopes and struggles, shared rituals of accountability, and celebrations of each other's successes. At the same time, she recognizes relationships that drain her vitality or steer her away from her true self. With grace and resolve, she steps back or redefines those bonds, freeing herself to devote her energy where it truly matters. In her professional sphere, she brings the same clarity of purpose. Rather than chasing every opportunity for status or paycheck, she identifies the work that resonates with her values and leverages her unique strengths to serve a greater good. Whether that means mentoring a junior colleague, spearheading a project that solves a real-world problem, or championing ethical practices within her industry, she refuses to settle for tasks that feel empty or misaligned. Her career becomes an extension of her purpose, an arena in which she can make a tangible difference, grow her capabilities, and leave a lasting legacy. Perhaps most importantly, she views setbacks not as derailments, but as course corrections. When a plan falters, she resists the urge to ruminate on failure. Instead, she pauses to learn, what did this experience teach me? How can I refine my approach? What new door might be opening? In this way, every obstacle becomes a stepping stone, a necessary lesson on the path to a more deliberately crafted life. By anchoring herself in purpose, a wise woman experiences a profound sense of empowerment. She greets each morning with intention rather than obligation, each evening with satisfaction rather than regret. Even in moments of doubt or fatigue, she can return to her guiding principles, knowing that she is not adrift but following a path she has chosen with utmost care. And as she moves through the world with this clarity of direction, she radiates a kind of quiet magnetism. Others sense the integrity of her purpose and are drawn to the strength and vision she embodies. Living with intentional purpose is not a one-time achievement, but a daily practice, a series of small, deliberate choices that, over time, coalesce into a life of profound alignment. When a wise woman commits to this practice, she doesn't merely survive, she thrives. She becomes the architect of her destiny, building each day upon a foundation of values, vision, and unwavering resolve. This is the power of purpose. It transforms ordinary moments into meaningful milestones and turns a woman's life into a testament to the beauty of intentional living. For she accepts what she cannot control. A wise woman stands at the crossroads of effort and surrender, fully aware that her influence extends only as far as her thoughts, words, and deeds. Beyond that boundary lies a vast expanse of forces she cannot shape: the decisions of others, the whims of fate, the turning of sun and storm. Yet instead of trembling before this reality or wasting her spirit on futile worry, she turns inward and cultivates a profound serenity. She understands that true power lives in the art of discerning what deserves her focus and what must be released. When news of global turmoil crackles across her screen, conflict erupting in distant lands, economies teetering on the edge, the planet's fragile ecosystems under siege, she does not recoil into helpless panic. She honors the pain she feels for human suffering and environmental devastation. But she also remembers that her role is not to carry the world's weight on her shoulders. Instead, she asks, "What action can I take that aligns with my values and my sphere of influence?" She may donate her time or resources, raise awareness through her voice, or support organizations dedicated to real change. And once she has done all she reasonably can, she closes that chapter in her mind, freeing herself from the endless loop of guilt and despair. In her relationships, she embraces the same principle. When someone she loves makes choices that hurt her, she resists the seductive pull of blame or bitterness. She acknowledges her feelings: disappointment, sadness, maybe even anger, but she also reminds herself, "I cannot rewrite his heart or force her path. I can only choose how I respond." With this clarity, she sets compassionate boundaries, speaks her truth with kindness, and then, if reconciliation remains out of reach, she lets go. In doing so, she protects her peace and honors the autonomy of the other person, trusting that each soul must learn its lessons. At work, when promotions slip through her fingers or projects collapse due to external factors, she refuses to dwell on recrimination. She reflects, "What part of this outcome was within my control? Where did I succeed, and where can I grow?" She extracts every lesson, perhaps a skill to sharpen, a relationship to fortify, a process to streamline, and then turns her gaze forward. She knows that her career trajectory will be shaped less by singular victories or defeats and more by her unwavering commitment to excellence and adaptability. By focusing on her preparation, integrity, and continuous improvement, she creates ripples of influence that endure beyond any one circumstance. On mornings when a sudden rainstorm drenches the city streets, spoiling her carefully planned routine, she greets the droplets patter not with frustration, but with curiosity. She marvels at how easily the universe can rewrite the script she thought was set in stone. Then she recalibrates. Perhaps she'll pause for a moment under an awning and savor the fresh scent of wet earth, or maybe she'll welcome the chance to slow down, adjust her pace, and move forward with renewed mindfulness. In these small, everyday encounters with the uncontrollable, she sharpens her capacity to pivot gracefully instead of resisting the current. Her deepest practice of acceptance is born of Stoic insight that suffering arises not from events themselves, but from our judgments about them. When she catches herself labeling traffic as ruining my day or a friend's silence as proof of rejection, she takes a deliberate breath and reframes the narrative. She reminds herself that the jammed highway and the unanswered text are neutral occurrences, neither inherently good nor bad. It is only her story about them that breeds stress. With this realization, she refuses to feed the narrative. She observes the situation with equanimity, then chooses a constructive response, perhaps an audiobook companion on her commute, or a gentle check-in message rather than accusatory demands. Yet her acceptance does not equate to passivity. On the contrary, by freeing herself from the illusion of omnipotence, she concentrates her energy where it matters most: on her character, her intentions, and her daily discipline. She commits to showing up with generosity, courage, and integrity, even when outcomes remain uncertain. With each act of diligent focus, she builds an inner fortress against the chaos of external events. This is the paradox of acceptance. By yielding to what she cannot change, she discovers a deeper agency over what she can. Perhaps the greatest testament to her wisdom is the unspoken vow she carries. In her bones, I will weather what I cannot, alter and steward what I can. In this affirmation, she finds freedom. No longer shackled by fear of the unpredictable, she moves through life with grace, resilience, and an unshakable calm. In embracing the Stoic maxim, focus on what you control, let go of the rest, she opens herself to a serenity that no storm can breach, and a strength that no twist of fate can diminish. 5. She extends compassionate action. A wise woman carries kindness in her bones, knowing that strength without empathy is brittle and wisdom without warmth is hollow. She recognizes that compassion is not a mere sentiment, it is a dynamic force that transforms both giver and receiver. When she sees someone struggling, whether an overwhelmed co-worker juggling deadlines or a stranger weighed down by grief, Her heart moves her to act, but her compassion is not a reflexive pity. It is a deliberate choice grounded in clarity, boundaries, and respect for another's journey. She listens first and foremost. In a world clamoring for attention, she offers the rare gift of genuine presence when a friend pours out her frustrations. The wise woman suspends her agenda and gives space for every pause, every sigh. She does not interrupt with unsolicited advice or anecdotes meant to one-up the suffering. Instead, she leans in, nods her understanding, and lets silence serve as a sanctuary where another's pain can speak freely. In that simple act, holding her tongue and opening her heart, she affirms the other's worth and honors their story. Yet compassion is more than listening. It is a mindful action directed by wisdom. If someone is trapped in self-doubt, she offers an encouraging word rooted in truth. She reminds them of past victories, points out strengths they may have forgotten, and holds up a mirror that reflects their potential, but she stops short of enabling dependence. She resists the urge to fix problems that others must solve for themselves. Instead, she coaches. What steps can you take? Which resources do you need? How can I support you in taking them? In this way, she empowers others to stand on their own feet, fostering growth rather than reliance. Compassion sometimes demands hard love. When a beloved colleague's behavior breeds toxicity, perhaps chronic negativity or boundary crossing, demands she does not turn away in passive avoidance, nor does she lash out in reactive anger. She addresses the issue with direct kindness. She says, "I care about you and our work together, but when you speak to me that way, it undermines both." In setting this boundary, she protects her well-being while still affirming the other's dignity. Her firmness is seasoned with empathy. She acknowledges the stress her colleague may be under and offers to help find healthier ways to communicate. Through this balanced approach, she models that true compassion holds both truth and tenderness in one hand. Her compassionate action reaches beyond personal circles into the broader community. When injustice or suffering makes headlines, whether it's a single mother struggling to pay rent or a marginalized group facing discrimination, she does not avert her gaze. She educates herself about systemic causes, listens to voices at the margins, and uses her platform to amplify those voices rather than speak over them. She volunteers her skills, tutoring children in underserved neighborhoods, offering pro bono work to nonprofits, or simply mentoring someone who lacks a champion. In each act, she carries her values into tangible service, recognizing that compassion unexpressed is compassion denied. Importantly, she nurtures herself so her well of empathy does not run dry. She honors her own needs for rest, reflection, and replenishment. She knows that to pour from an empty cup is to fail both herself and those she seeks to help. Daily rituals, whether a brisk walk at dawn, a moment of journaling to process her own emotions, or a sacred hour spent reading poetry, allow her to refill her reserves. In modeling this self-care, she teaches others that compassion begins with the self, for only a nourished heart can overflow with genuine care. Perhaps the most profound testament to her compassion lies in her steadfast commitment over time. She does not offer sporadic gestures of goodwill, but cultivates a consistent practice of kindness. She remembers birthdays of acquaintances, checks in on colleagues facing deadlines, and sends notes of gratitude to those who have inspired her. She forgives transgressions, not condoning harmful acts, but releasing the bitterness that could harden her spirit. Through these daily expressions, she becomes a living example of compassion's quiet power, quietly shifting the atmosphere around her and inviting others to join in the practice. In extending compassionate action, a wise woman weaves her strength and her sensitivity into a single thread. She demonstrates that true power is not measured by dominance or accolades, but by the capacity to uplift others while maintaining one's integrity. Her empathy is disciplined by wisdom, her kindness guided by boundaries, and her generosity fueled by self-care. In witnessing her example, we are reminded that compassion is not weakness, but the highest expression of human strength, the force that binds us together and leads us toward a more humane, connected world. 6. She embodies a lifelong commitment to learning. A wise woman knows that true mastery is never the end of a journey, but the invitation to begin anew. She greets each morning with the anticipation of discovery, understanding that every moment offers a lesson, whether hidden in the pages of an ancient text whispered by a mentor, or revealed through the quiet reflection that follows a mistake. Her commitment to learning is not a checkbox on a to-do list, but a flame she stokes with curiosity, humility, and relentless passion. She reads voraciously and eclectically, refusing to confine herself to a single discipline. One week, she delves into Stoic philosophy, tracing Marcus Aurelius's meditations for insight into resilience. She studies breakthroughs in neuroscience, mapping how the brain rewires itself through habit. She devours poetry to attune her heart to beauty and listens to history's lessons to ground her ambitions in perspective. With each book, article, or podcast, she extracts more than facts. She gathers viewpoints, sharpens her ability to see patterns, and expands the edges of her imagination. But her learning is not passive. She engages actively, annotating margins with questions, summarizing key ideas in her own words, and weaving new insights into her daily practices. After finishing a chapter on emotional intelligence, she experiments with one technique at a time, perhaps pausing during the day to sense the emotional climate of a meeting, or offering a colleague a moment of mindful listening. She tracks the results. Was her presence more attuned? Did the conflict dissolve sooner? In this deliberate cycle of doing and debriefing, knowledge transforms into skill, and skill into habit. A wise woman also seeks mentors and kindred spirits to accelerate her growth. She approaches those whose achievements she admires with respect for their time and clarity about her aspiration, and asks precise, thoughtful questions. How did you build the confidence to speak up? What daily routine anchors your creativity? When she receives guidance, she listens unguardedly and follows through, reporting back on her progress. In turn, she shares what she's learned with peers, forming a circle of accountability that fuels mutual advancement. This network becomes not just a resource, but a living laboratory, where ideas are tested, refined, and celebrated together. Mistakes, far from being dreaded, are among her most valued teachers. When a project falters or a plan derails, she resists the urge to hide from the failure or assign blame. Instead, she dissects the experience with compassionate rigor. Which assumptions were faulty? Where did execution slip? What external factors emerged? In her journal, she writes a candid postmortem, then distills 3 actionable lessons. Finally, she crafts a plan to apply those lessons in her next venture. Over time, this practice of reflection builds resilience. Each setback becomes a stepping stone, each stumble a source of newfound wisdom. Her commitment to learning extends into daily rituals that anchor her intentions. She carves out a golden hour at the start or close of each day, a sacred span reserved for study and reflection. At dawn, she might listen to a lecture on ethical leadership. At dusk, she journals about how the day's events tested her principles. She keeps a curiosity log in which she captures stray questions. Why does stress shrink our attention span? How can I integrate more creative play into my routine? And seeks answers one by one. By making learning systematic, she prevents it from being crowded out by urgent but trivial demands. Importantly, she embraces new technology and methodologies without romanticizing the past. She experiments with apps that teach languages, platforms that connect her with experts around the globe, and online courses that challenge her to apply concepts in real-world scenarios. If a tool fails to serve her, she pivots quickly, valuing efficiency over novelty. In this adaptive spirit, she remains at the forefront of progress, unafraid to adopt new lenses through which to view the world. Yet her greatest lesson is the simplest, that learning is an expression of love for herself, for others, and for the broader tapestry of humanity. Every insight she gains, she offers back in service. She mentors emerging professionals, curates reading lists for her community, or synthesizes complex ideas into accessible talks. In doing so, she cements her understanding and ignites the flame of curiosity in others. Her growth becomes a beacon, inviting everyone around her to see that the pursuit of wisdom is the grandest adventure of all. Through books and experiments, mentors and mistakes, rituals and technology, She weaves a life rich with continual awakening. Her mind remains supple, her spirit expansive, and her impact far-reaching. In embodying this lifelong commitment to learning, she demonstrates that wisdom is not a prize to be claimed but a journey to be pursued. With every breath an odyssey of the heart and mind that never ends, yet always fulfills. The journey to wisdom is an invitation to meet ourselves and the world with open hearts and unwavering minds. These 6 signals a resilient spirit, profound self-awareness, intentional purpose, acceptance of what lies beyond control, compassionate action, and an unquenchable thirst for learning are not markers of perfection, but beacons lighting the path. Embrace them, and you'll discover a power far greater than any accolade or achievement, the power to live with genuine fulfillment, unwavering confidence, and the grace that only true wisdom can bring. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. If these insights resonate with you, like this video, subscribe for more reflections rooted in ancient wisdom, and share your journey in the comments below. Remember, you are already wise beyond measure. Keep nurturing that wisdom and let it shine.